Hi, my name is Maria Amélia Martins-Loução, and I'm an ecologist and a science promoter. All my career has been done at the Faculty of Sciences, University of Lisbon, Portugal, since graduation till my retirement as a full professor. Currently, with 71 years old, I am the president of the Ecological Society, Portuguese Ecological Society, and a research member of Center for Ecology, Evolution and Environmental Changes. So it has been a pleasure for me to be invited to this conference and give my testimony of almost 50 years of life dedicated to sciences, particularly ecology. Throughout all these years, many times I felt the problem of having two X chromosomes. But every time I faced it by settling my work upon honesty and passion. You asked me to give a title to this testimony, and I brought the name of Mil Hojas or Mille-Folhas in both Portuguese and Spanish, for a delicious cake that it's quite normal in our countries. I couldn't find a better translation, and I brought it as puff pastry. And why a cake, a name of a cake for this title? Because I considered it as the metaphor of my life. Before I eat it, I always look, observed, plan a strategy to avoid any leftovers. Impossible. Each piece is very defined, tender, tasty, but it's only a piece of the whole cake, also very fragile and much more tasty. So, being a metaphor of my life, surprisingly, I realized that can be also the metaphor of ecology, because any ecologist with a capital E needs to develop different approaches in order to try a better understanding of the holistic environment. During all my life, I ended up combining different approaches in my studies. At the beginning, in 70s, I had no problem at all with university and being a woman, because even as a student, I have been invited to be part of the group of monitors of practical classes. And after my graduation, the invitation for being an assistant of practical classes is maintained, and so I remain at the faculty, which shows that in a way they value my work, my knowledge. From the scientific point of view, I use an approach of cytology, physiology, and genetics to approach genetic ecological investigations. Gene ecology, as it is called, provides the links between genetic and particular plant ecology, because it could reveal the infraspecific variation of potential evolutionary significance. At that time, my research question was to find out why and how endopolyploidy could be connected with ecological variation and evolution. There, I got many problems. I married too young, and I follow different international post-graduation courses and different visits outside home, trying to deep my knowledge on that subject, but it was a field of people very well established, older men. And every time I approached them, they tried to antagonize me, and with the difficulties in terms of sophisticated equipment that I needed at that time, I couldn't find a good story to fulfill my thesis. So almost after 80 years, I gave up, and in the 80s, already with 2 children, I moved to another work focus on plant-soil microorganisms interactions. My research question at that time, it was how carob, being a legume tree, could not fix nitrogen. As you can imagine, it's very difficult to answer that question. But at that time, it was the plasmid discover, and everything seemed to be possible. We dreamed with the possibility to transform plants, non-fixer plants, to fixer ones. But that it was not easy. Because of last time I couldn't find a good story, I went to Salamanca to be completely dedicated to my research story. And there I specialized more in microbiology, biochemistry, physiology, molecular physiology, and it was through the interactions of plant nutrition and the interactions of plant-soil microorganisms that I end up with a good story for my thesis. After that, I established a research group without any problems at home at University of Lisbon. And at the end of the 20th century, I had already a large group, both in Lisbon and in Algarve, with whom I maintain collaboration. In 2002, I embraced a new academic challenge as head of Botanic Garden, Lisbon Botanic Garden, and where the focus were plant evolution and conservation. And my focus at that time was to get a better specialization of all the group in terms of molecular ecology, molecular evolution, in order to enlarge and fortify that knowledge within the botanic garden. But at that time, although I had no difficulties to be heading, but throughout the role and the presidents of that Lisbon Botanic Garden, I had some difficulties because it was the first time that a woman took place as heading of Lisbon Botanic Garden. But again, I fulfill it and I answer it with scientific knowledge and aiming the goodness of that group. And in 2006, I moved again. I accepted another challenge to go to the governance of the University of Lisbon, and I have been vice rector for 6 years. My job at that time was external relations and collaborations. And in there, I also got some difficulties in terms of my 2 X chromosomes, because the major part of people outside the country and within the universities were men and not women. So they found out very interesting to deal with a woman, but the relations were not so easy But again, I took advantage of my scientific background, knowing how to deal as plant resilience, plant tolerance, how plant soil microorganisms interact, and that knowledge served me very much to fulfill that job. After my retirement, I felt still a gap in my knowledge, science communication. So I went to another university. I have been enrolled in a master program offered by Nova de Lisboa, and I took science communication master degree. From there on, I have been dedicated my life to promote ecological literacy among youth and adult. And in the last 3 years, my plan for the presidency of SPECO, of Portuguese Ecological Society, has been accepted. I have been elected, and from there on, my dedication is upon showing and disseminating ecology as a transversal and holistic science. So this is the story of my life, a long walk with different gateways where I tried to use all my small leftovers in order to know how to construct the present and the future. And as take-home message, I do think that the best we can treasure are attitudes, maintain curiosity, and the focus of our aims. Collaboration is better not to walk alone. So networking is the best. Evaluation, with honesty, we need to maintain a permanent self-evaluation to know how to reinterpret and reconstruct our life. And last but not least, communication. We need to know how to communicate and disseminate scientific knowledge as a basis of problem solving and problems understanding. Thank you.